This is the outcome I see for the Pacific Division this year in the NHL season. Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Poutine Productions. Today, as I said, we're going to be talking about the Pacific Division. Now, coming out of the Pacific Division, we had a pretty feisty one last year with Anaheim and Edmonton. But do they both make the playoffs this year? I mean, Edmonton, yes, I'm pretty sure that everyone is a guarantee for that team. But does a team like Anaheim make it? Well, we'll discuss that. But first off, coming at dead last in the Pacific Division, I see the Vancouver Canucks. They're older, they're clearly in a rebuild stage. They don't have a lot of pieces to actually make the playoffs this year or even for a few more years later. Sedins are getting older. This might be their last year, might be their second last year. No one knows for sure. They want to stay on Vancouver, but the team themselves wants to progress further. How I see it is that they have to lose the Sedins first in order to bring in the young core to start rebuilding. Bo Horvat is a good player. He's a great player. He can be actually the next core piece of this team, but unless they actually get their act together and actually figure out where they are as a team, they're not going to be making the playoffs. Coming in ahead of them, it's a team that's always been bankrupt, and I don't know why they still have an NHL team, but we have the Arizona Coyotes. We have Max Domi, who's very good as a player. He's the son of Ty Domi, so you know he's a tough guy. They have a good young team. Ekman Larsson's just been named the captain of it, but they discovered a whole bunch of drama this offseason with Shane Doan. And that's a big piece to lose leadership. But again, they're in the right process of the rebuild. They have young players. They have a good core for the team. Again, they are not at the stage yet when you can actually say, oh yeah, Arizona, they're a playoff team. They've never really been at that stage before. Everyone's always on the list of Arizona is a guarantee to miss the playoffs. And I see them just beating Vancouver this year because I think Vancouver's going to be awful. Coming in ahead of Arizona, which is surprisingly on this list because a lot of people had them dead last. I see Las Vegas. Yep, the Golden Knights, from the preseason, they haven't been too bad. But again, it's preseason. No one has their starting lineup on the ice. There's a lot to actually play with. I see Vegas as a team that's going to surprise a lot of people in the standings with my prediction of them coming third from last. And I think with Fleury in net, he's going to be taking a lot of games, if not at least a few. And I think they're not necessarily going to battle for a playoff spot, but they're not necessarily going to be awful in missing it at the same time. They're kind of in the middle of the pack this year, I think. Coming ahead of them is a two-time Stanley Cup champion since the 2000s. We have the Los Angeles Kings. This team is kind of, even when they won the cup, they came like last in the actual playoff berth. So they're a playoff team. They're a team that excels in those types of situations. This year, I don't think that they have enough depth because they have good players up front. They have Kopitar, who kind of had a bad year last year, but they also have Jeff Carter, who's always under the radar, but puts up a ton of points. And they also have Jonathan Quick, who was out the majority of last season with an injury, which seems to be fine now, and he's going to proceed this year as the starter goaltender again, not Peter Buda, obviously. They kind of missed their shot because they have 4 teams ahead of them, plus they have the Central Division to compete with. And to battle for a wild card spot, I think there's a team ahead of them in this division that is better, just simply better on paper, better on core, have a lot more pieces than they do. And that team is coming in at number 4. They are the San Jose Sharks. A couple of years ago, they made the playoffs and made it to the Stanley Cup final against the Pittsburgh Penguins. But are they going to continue this trend of coming to the playoffs and losing the first round again? Is that going to happen this year? Again, beginning of the season, we don't know. But this is all just speculation of how the team is. They lost Marleau to the Leafs, which I'm happy about. But how will that impact their team? Of course, they got Thornton, so there's the leadership there too. They have Pavelski, who's another leader on the team. Jones is a great goaltender. If you want someone to carry you through the playoffs, he can actually do it.
Do it.
The great thing about hockey is that it's not a one-man sport. It's definitely a team sport. That's why if you have a core, you're more likely to win the playoffs and the Stanley Cup. I mean, look at Pittsburgh last year. So many injuries, but yet they won the cup. You need a core. San Jose has somewhat of a core. I think they have a better core than Los Angeles, which is why they're going to be making the wild card spot. Again, I don't know which wild card spot I'm thinking, but I think nonetheless they will make a playoff spot. Ahead of them, another Californian team, a feisty team, kind of comparable to Boston Bruins because I called them slow, which they are, is the Anaheim Ducks. Ryan Getzlaf, Corey Perry, Ryan Kessler. I mean, not the fastest players in the world. They know they're position players. They know where to be on the ice. They're good at agitating. It's just a big agitation of a team in general. Perry is known for agitations and doing little sly things. And Kessler's the exact same way. But that's what makes them so good. That's why they make the playoffs year after year after year. They get teams off their games. They get teams to draw penalties, and then they execute on those power plays. They're just that type of team. I think they'll grab a playoff spot this year for sure. I think they'll have a rematch, actually, of last year, the first round. And that team would have to be the Calgary Flames coming in at number 2. I think they're kind of switching places this year, with Calgary having the home ice advantage. Calgary has a lot of depth. They have a lot of skill up front. They have a great goalie now who they got from Arizona and Mike Smith. They have Monahan, Goudreau, really just solid team up front with the acquisition of Hamonic. That's a very, very good player to have on the back end, a right-handed shot defenseman. Those guys pay a lot of money to be who they are. Calgary is very fortunate to actually grab a player like that. That means coming in at number 1, which is not a big shocker for everyone, the Edmonton Oilers. McDavid, of course, he's going to have a tear. Just got signed to a big contract this offseason. Draisaitl's the same way. He got signed to a huge contract this year too. They still got the force of Lucic, Kassian, Maroon. So they got the big guys up front. They have Larson with Russell out back. They're okay defense, but it's backed up even further by their goaltender. Cam Talbot had a great year last year. If he can continue that this year, I think we can potentially see a Stanley Cup winner here. I think they got robbed hardcore last year by Anaheim. The penalties were ridiculous, and the non-calls were ridiculous. The calls in general were ridiculous, and they really stabbed Edmonton in the back. It was just a poor officiating in those few games. Everything went Anaheim's way. But again, like I said before, Anaheim is really good at doing that type of thing. You got to watch out for that team. But Edmonton knows this year what type of team Anaheim is, and they are smart enough to learn from their mistakes.
So in 8th, we have the Vancouver Canucks. At number 7, we have the Arizona Coyotes. At number 6, we have the Las Vegas Golden Knights. At number 5, we have the Los Angeles Kings. At number 4, and making the playoffs, we have the San Jose Sharks. At number 3, we have the Anaheim Ducks. At number 2, we have the Calgary Flames. And at number 1, there is the Edmonton Oilers.
What do you guys think of this video? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to share this video, and don't forget to smash that like button. Okay, guys, have a great day.